Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Hello to everyone there in the football world. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM and online at CITR.ca. We're coming to you live from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam territory. If you're listening to the podcast, this is episode 198. I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And I'm Gideon Hill.
And just to let you know also, the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for all local, national, and international news. And they come with links, which is very important.
Bill Curry does a great job.
Oh, fantastic job. It was a great job initially when they first started up.
Richard Howes.
Yeah, Richard Howes. And then this is really taking it to another level. And as you can hear, we're not joined by our resident Scottish bloke, Michael McCall.
This
Once again in Oregon.
Yeah. This episode does have less accents on it than usual.
Oh, that's for sure. And there's something about him in Oregon. It seems like I kind of, he's maybe spying for the Timbers a little bit. It seems like. Feels like. I don't know.
You're saying he's there giving the Timbers organization information on us?
Yeah, maybe. What's going on there?
Well, they must be paying him to
maybe
to get that.
Room and board. So let's get down to the talk about the Caps themselves. Obviously, kind of a mixed week. Didn't start out that great in Montreal. But let's talk about yesterday, the 3-1 win against Atlanta. A lot of people talking about, 27 goals in 60 seconds. Basically took them only 360 seconds to score the first goal there. What are you guys' thoughts overall on the game and how it went?
Yeah, another difficult test at home for the Caps. It was kind of a Toronto FC situation for me with the way that the team was hyped up, just the way, the stars and all that. And, I think Atlanta came to play for sure. I know Kendall Waston was talking at halftime about how they really came to the Caps, and not just in the first 20 minutes. In the first 5 minutes, I noticed when I was sitting, Atlanta just took it and drove it to the Caps right away, and they defended well. And then, obviously, not after the goal, I should say they defended well, but full credit to Atlanta. They came to play, and especially after that first goal, I think Tides turned away from Atlanta, but they did a very good job to open up the game away on the road.
Yeah, it felt like they really wanted to get something quick. It's like if they felt like they were going to be. They were maybe going to be able to hold on, and so they would get something quick on the board and then defend or something like that. But obviously it didn't work out for them. Zach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the game as a whole, it was, again, another, I think, good performance. I think we have to
It wasn't
say.
as dominant as the scoreline shows. Would you agree with that? Because all goals from set pieces, nothing through the build-up.
Yeah, but that
obviously you get goals the way you want to, but I'm not going to say it was like cheap or something like that. But they earned their goals through the set plays and earning those set plays. But you kind of want to see more build up, and there were those build up they were missed.
Right, yeah. But if you look at the number of chances created and that kind of stuff, I think you saw that. I mean, Atlanta did hit the woodwork twice, which we doubled that last
yeah,
match,
that was nothing.
No. So I think dominant is probably is definitely too strong of a word, but yeah, I think we were full value for the 3-1 win. It was like you said, it was kind of another early goal, which was kind of difficult. I don't know, Steve. Is it okay if we talk about that goal a little bit?
Yeah. Bring up the goals.
This is like a Whitecaps beat. Anatomy of a goal. Can we do one of those?
Oh, if you want to, that's a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a really interesting goal because you look a couple of things, and some of Michael's talked a little bit of this on Twitter a little bit already, but one of the things that was two things I think that stood out, and one we've already mentioned. One is it looked like the Whitecaps were very intentional about knowing that they could take advantage of Atlanta on-set plays. And we'll talk about that more when it comes to our goals, because obviously all three were connected to set plays. The other thing that was noticeable is that we did more pressing in this game than I think we've done in a long time, and I think that was really intentional.
It felt like they gave away possession a little bit. Again, it played into their hands. They didn't really want possession too much.
The Whitecaps?
Yeah.
Well, I think they did some high pressing more than normal.
Yeah.
And it mostly worked out. On the goal, however, if you go back and you watch not just like the last pass or the last two passes, or if you go back and watch the play from basically the beginning, it was kind of a mishap on the high press, because what happened was. I think Teixeira, the bug, got caught in high pressing in a bit of the wrong area. He kind of pushed inside and was going to press or block a passing zone to one of the center backs who was kind of moved out wide. And Garza moved up wide along the touchline, moved up the field. The ball went to, I don't know if it was the other center back or if it was Laurentowicz or one of the two holding midfielders who had dropped deep between the center backs.
Yeah. Got
on the ball. And the crazy thing about Atlanta, and I think this in part has to do with who their coach is and how he's coached them. But it was incredible recognition of space opening up. So what happened was that person on the ball recognized our left fullback is in space. Not a lot of space, but he's in space because of how Teixeira had pushed up. So he makes a pass out to the Garza. What happened then was Shane saw this developing and decided to take a risk.
Yeah.
And he pushed forward because he thought, okay, I'll just go up and I'll jockey Garza. But Garza also then really recognizes really quick that Shannon's leaving this huge gap behind him. And what does he do? He plays the ball first time. He plays the pass first time past Shannon. And now I think it was Assad kind of further up and a little bit in. So Assad was in just acres of space, a huge gap. He then cuts to the middle. And Garza, the thing about Garza, he doesn't just make this one-touch pass and stop. He makes his one-touch pass and just keeps going like gangbusters. And Williams never fully recovered. Assad cuts into the middle. He sees Gressel making this one on the right, plays the Gressel. Gressel makes a beautiful cross, a very dangerous cross. And Garza, all of a sudden everyone's like, how is he open how is he so alone? And it's because
Teixeira first,
and then
Williams
never got, because you look at it, it looks like Williams kind of just jogging back. No, because Williams kind of like. I can't remember. I want to say lunge, but that might be a bit harsh on him.
Yeah.
He really risked it all and never got back.
It felt like they studied really well.
Totally.
And they applied it on that one play. And then because if we were looking at the bench after that goal was scored, and a lot of instructions were being shouted out onto the field after that, and that seemed like it was.
But it was our part of our game plan. We just missed it a little bit, or miscommunicated, or mistimed in Shannon's case.
Yeah.
But you're right; we adjusted well afterwards.
And so then, obviously, it seemed like, here we go again, falling down again. But then Waston shows great skill in the box and puts away. He said it was his first goal from his foot since Costa Rica.
Yeah. From where I was, from my position, right when the ball came over the top, you're thinking, Waston, like you said, he's too far out to head that ball, and full credit to him for taking it down his chest. Right when he was facing towards the far touchline when he got that ball. So you're thinking, like, how is he going to do this? Like last week, he hit the crossbar with the bicycle kick, right? So you're like, how is he going to do this? And full credit to him, he shielded off, I think it was Parkhurst.
And Parkhurst was the one that kept him onside as well.
Yeah,
on that
so
play.
Fantastic. I think Parkhurst was caught a couple times yesterday offside, but Waston with just an exceptional finish, and celebration as well. It's great.
It looked really skillful initially. Then when you saw a replay, like a regular speed replay, it looked clumsy. And then when you looked at this extra slow-mo, then actually you saw what he tried to do there. And he noticed Parker's coming, he shielded him off, and then he struck it sideways. It was a nice goal. And then they came back again and scored another one. This time a typical goal he scores right from the header into the back of the net. Parker was right there too, kind of causing chaos at the post, but it was a great strike as well on that one.
Yeah, I mean, both Kendall's goals I think were incredibly well taken. I think you guys mentioned there, but it's hard not to talk about the fact that he has played, or growing up he played striker quite a bit, and you could see it was those kind of instincts, right? And you heard, listening to him talk about it after, you could just, it was kind of like a striker or an old striker's kind of goal. Quality finish, and then the header. Textbook down into the ground. Yeah, it looked like Timmy was maybe going to get a touch on it, but
he was at least causing chaos at that post, which always gets in the head of the keeper.
And he would score later, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that right now. Who do you think scored that third goal? I think by the way the keeper's mitt went into the back of the net that it was Parker's goal. Yeah. But it was good that Montero was there just to finish up, so you don't have to rely on the referee to make that call.
Yeah, this is the age-old, bringing up the assistant referee thing. For me, either way, it's a goal. For a fan's perspective, and I think for most people, it was nice to see Montero get it. 3 perspectives for me. One, first look, Montero, it's good for him to break that. I don't know, was it five game skid for him? Second look, I don't know, it was still, Montero was tough to him. And then third look, that was Parker's goal 100% of the replay. And full credit to Parker, even though he did run away and celebrate and miss the play, but it was, a goal's a goal for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, and I don't think the MLS is going to reverse it. They normally reverse stuff if it's goes goal to own goal or own goal to goal or something like that.
Well, if they don't correct it, then they're foolish.
Well, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. That's what we were told by. I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned that to me during the scrums downstairs.
I'm sure they can change that napkin.
They could, but I don't think they usually do that when it comes to that.
Why would you not?
It might not have been definitive video for them to overrule it. I'm just saying they might not. We'll see.
Why would you not want to get something right?
Oh well, that's MLS.
No, but what did you from where we were? It looked like it was in. Only LWO4 on Twitter. John Humphreys, he was like, no, he got it.
From the way and I think I was talking to Carl Valentine as well. I think it was Carl Valentine. Where his mitt was, it seemed like it was over the line because but that's a lot of physics and stuff like that. So I don't want to even deal with that stuff.
No, it was over the line.
And then so let's talk.
The other thing is the only bonus from this for Tim Parker. Which was, I think, mentioned on Twitter earlier today, is that he didn't get slapped in the face for scoring this goal.
Yeah, it was funny,
but he did slap Kendall on Kendall's second goal.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, not hard, but
the slapping continues. Question overall for this team right now: where do you think they're going to go anywhere from this this formation at all at this point? Right now, it's whether they win or lose. It seems like they're on. They have a kind of a formula, and I think they're going to stick to it, whether it be lineup or formation. I think right now they're stuck in.
Yeah, but and we, I think we're going to talk about this in greater detail later on. The only thing with that is that we're currently selecting from not a full squad, and there are players who are coming back from injuries that I think we want to influence how we play and want to be a part of the side because we're
lineups can change, but formation that it's hard to see them.
Yeah, formation. I see where you're coming from, Steve. But.
You're just talking for
if we just talk about formation, 4-1 and tactics, 4-1-4-1 with the pressing style. I think they kind of bottled something, and I think they want to stick to it.
I think do you think we've pressed more in this last game than we have in some of those others though?
I think they picked the spots when to press and when not to press.
DC was
who calls that? Who's calling that?
It must be coming from the sideline or somebody particular on the field to when to press. Because that would be the ideal thing for somebody on the field to call it. Like you're kind of
on Friday. Friday I got to hang out a little bit at the very end of training, so I didn't get to see everything. But so Michael was saying that, and I think he said this on Twitter tonight, that this was one of the things that they were working on the most on Friday at training was their shape, and they were doing a lot of high pressing in training on Friday to get ready for the game on Saturday.
Do you feel they pressed all the time, or do you think they picked their spots? I kind of noticed that they picked their spots. Yeah. They were willing to like fall back a little bit once in a while, but sometimes they didn't.
No, I don't think it's. I don't know. I watched the game again today on the PVR, and I didn't think it was holistically a high press. You know what I mean? Like I think that would be maybe I don't think that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, there were periods of it.
So there was one other crazy play that happened near the end of the game, in the second half of the game. I got a little bit of audio from Carl Robinson about that. We'll listen to that, and we'll come back and what the referee was thinking.
Because as a coach, you get uptight. You're in the emotion of the game, and all you want is an explanation. Whether it's right or wrong, if they give you an explanation, you can accept it. You can tell them they're wrong and call them all the names under the sun, or you can accept it. And Robert did. He said that Freddie Montero's a striker and he went down and he gave a penalty. And I said it was a foul in our box. And he said, yes, that's why you reversed the decision. So it's a great explanation. So I left it at that.
So essentially I thought when the call was made and it was reversed, I thought they thought initially that Montero got called for the foul and the linesman reversed the decision. But afterwards you find out that the referee thought it was the wrong box, basically. So
two things. One, it's almost like unbelievable, right? That he called a penalty because because there was a foul on our own player in our own box, right? It's almost unbelievable, right? It's almost, it feeds the narrative of how poor the refereeing is in MLS.
Well, at least he owned up to it, which is
yes. That's the other point. Is
he could have said, yes. Oh no, it was a foul. Some referees would just go with it.
Yes,
and once it's called, it's called.
I want to give him the credit for that, for being like, you could see if you watch the replay. He
says my fault.
He says I got it wrong, or
my fault, or something. I think.
Yeah, my bad, or whatever. Yeah. The only thing I would say, the difference between this game and last game, where last game, was it Soren Stoica? Is that who's ruined the last game?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Soren Stoica, I felt like watching that game, I think he got the most important decision wrong and ruined the game. But I felt actually watching the whole game, I thought he wasn't too bad. In my notes that I made as I was watching this game, I felt like there were a number of things that he either got wrong or really failed to controlling the game. Early in the first half, in the first 10 minutes, Almiron was not booked for an intentional handball, which could have been happened. Matty Laba had a tackle from behind. He did get part of the ball, but he could have easily been booked for it because he also went through the man a little bit. There were just a number of kind of instances where Carmona, the Chilean, should have been booked for a tackle he had on our striker.
Did you mention the one with Teixeira was?
I'm getting to that. I'm just scrolling through my notes.
That was egregious. That was a really missed one.
Yeah. So there was two. So there was two.
Yeah.
Talking about penalties, there was two that I think if they were against us, if it was Kendall Waston making those plays, I think they would have been given.
Guy.
Yeah. So one was who was it then? The late one was Alfonso when he did like the 85th minute or so. Alfonso dribbled into the box, and
Alfonso's not old enough to earn a penalty. It seems like.
My goodness! at least you had a creative way of bringing up his age this time.
Yeah.
He kind of dribbled in, and I swear that would be given against us in the past. Although, to be fair, I think he didn't call because the defender kind of just stood his ground, and Alfonso, I think, kind of megged him and then kind of ran into him. But I've seen those kind of things given against us, right? Or worse, given against us. And then, was the other one, was it? Bug. Yeah, the Bug. The Bug, the first half, 35th minute, Bug was taken down in the box. I think every day that one against us would be given. I think the fact that we were I think the fact that it was an even game and he didn't like it was kind of like he didn't want to be the one to change the game. So he's like, okay, I'm not gonna give that as a penalty. But watching that one back, to me, it looked like a penalty.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you?
No, I think there were definitely some calls that could have been called the penalties, and some referees would have called it. Obviously, this guy was maybe trying to keep the game close. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to be as controversial and call a penalty, but he did at one point. It was just the wrong box. Gideon, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, going back to the atrocity that happened last week, that's 2, I believe, reverse calls, if you could say that, in 2 weeks for the Whitecaps. Obviously, this one works out well for them, but it's just I'm not sure with the refs anymore. I thought, when the ref put his hand up, I was like, oh, like Waston got the handball, but then he pointed him on Terra. I'm thinking, what's going on there? So obviously, I'm glad that he owned up to it because most refs wouldn't, and I give credit to him for that. But again, like you can't have 2 reverse calls within 2 games. Like it's just for me that can't be acceptable in this kind of league.
And there was one call that was early in the game that was reversed by the linesman or something like that when Williams was taken down in their own box, and it was going to be a corner, and then they switched it to a free kick. The referee initially said no, and the linesman told him, it was a foul, and so that was reversed as well. So there were a number of reverse calls, but it's good to get them reversed if it's the right call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One thing earlier that happened earlier in the day, maybe we'll talk about the Champions League a little bit later on, but there was one moment in the Champions League that we kind of felt was a really awful call. Was when I can't even remember the player now. Got sent off. The sending off in the Champions League.
Corrado.
Yeah.
Cordado.
Yeah.
The
Sorry.
Colombian.
Yes.
The Colombian.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Colombian.
Yeah,
yes.
it was on Ramos.
Juventus is Colombian, just to be clear.
Yeah.
His second bookable offense for literally like doing nothing, and then Sergio Ramos totally dove and totally embellished. We were sitting, in red card watching the game together, a few of us from Curva Collective, and Massimo spoke up. He's like, see, like every big game, we talked about the FA Cup a week or 2 ago. The FA Cup, that ref, I know Robo praised him for giving simulation against Moses, but the opening goal by Arsenal should never have counted. It was handball and offside. Yeah. Anyways, we're sitting in the pub talking about this, and Massimo said, "This is the one thing I agree with Don Garber on." Because if you know Massimo, he doesn't. I
know Massimo, and he doesn't agree.
Yeah, he's not a big fan of Don Garber.
He doesn't agree with anybody usually.
Oh no,
I love Massimo.
I'm
just kidding.
He's very agreeable. He said, "This is the one thing I agree with Don Garber on is that refereeing all over the world, there's issues, and MLS they're doing their thing. So you see in these other leagues where there's big decisions that are made that cost games, that cost."
It gets swept under the rug and nobody even discusses it anymore. After they discuss it, but then by the next week it's some other call that usually happens, and nobody really pays attention. I agree with you there that MLS actually addresses it.
Yeah, his point was like, look, reffing all over the world in football is not where it should be.
Yeah. So normally we have audio from Atlanta, but we are running late. So if you want to listen to the Atlanta audio, Michael will be inserting it right now. Pause. And
what happened to the patience and deliberation y'all used the previous 3 games, the build from the back approach today? It seemed to just kind of disappear after y'all scored your first goal.
I think we did build from the back. From what I saw, I think we did build from the back. I think we emphasized on this week not receiving a goal on set pieces, and we received 3 goals today on set pieces. That's pretty unfortunate for us, but I think we still tried to emphasize our game as much as possible. We still tried to play out of the back. We still try to play our game, but it's difficult. You have a team that was very well organized, but still you can't be scored on 3 times on set pieces defensively. So we'll have to regroup, as I said, turn the page as quickly as possible and focus on next week.
Was there a consistency, only 3 goals allowed on the corner kicks, or like a communication or something like that?
No, we went through it. We probably went through about 15 different videos this week about how well they were on free kicks, and I don't know what happened to us. We just couldn't execute defensively, and it's very unfortunate for us to really give up those 3 goals, and not. I mean, it was one player every single time, so we'll definitely have to turn the page on that as quickly as possible, kind of forget everything that happened today.
What kind of problem does Kendall Waston pose in the box this size?
I mean, you were able to see the problems he caused us. So it's pretty obvious with 3 goals, him being involved. It's very difficult to really tally with a guy that tall and that well in the air. But it is what it is. You know, we can't go back and change our actions. As I said, we went through I don't know how many videos. So it's pretty disappointing that we still, after all the videos we had gone over, we still go through that and suffer 3 goals defensively. So yeah, it's suffering on our part.
You just talked about how y'all emphasized defending corners and free kicks this week. What happened on the 3 goals?
Yeah, we didn't do a good enough job. Obviously, the first one we push out, but we don't stay organized, and they get a second ball. You know, Waston is a beast in the air on the others. You know, we tried to have a guy in the zone and a guy marking, but you know, he's very good in the air, obviously, and you know, we paid the price. We just gave up too many set pieces, too many corners, too many opportunities for them. We knew that that was a big strength for them and a weakness for us, and we got punished today.
You guys dominated possession for most of the match. Why didn't it show up on the score sheet today?
Yeah, we knew we would. You know, it was our strength, and then their strength was the counterattack and the set pieces, and their strength won out today. You know, they were very organized defensively. The dry turf made it difficult for us to play quickly, to play through lines, and you know, we weren't good enough defending their strengths.
What did, from your viewpoint of the back, what did they do to kind of negate Albany today?
They had a constant pressure on him. They had a guy always aware of his whereabouts. You know, we didn't do a good enough job getting him in the game, giving him the ball, and you know, he even said, that being said, he almost scored a goal today in the second half, had a big chance. You know, for us in the back, it was just difficult for us to get him the ball through the lines because of the dry turf. But you know, we need to do a better job of you know, getting him and the rest of the offensive guys in good spots.
Coming in and with Atlanta having one of the better expansion seasons so far, what was your expectations coming into the season, and how have they exceeded them so far?
Well, they haven't exceeded my expectations. You know, we expected ourselves to be a winning team from day one. That you know, from the outside, yes, we're a first-year team, but everybody inside this locker room has got much bigger expectations than you know, a normal first-year team. You know, we expect to go out and not only be competitive but win games and then put ourselves in the playoffs. And so, you know, I'm not surprised at the start, but you know, we're taking it one game at a time, and we want to just try and get better throughout the course of the season.
Your thoughts on the match? A very good start for you guys.
Yeah, we started really well. We actually worked a lot watching the videos on Vancouver. We know they had the aerial dominance against us, over us, and it showed a lot to you know, today. 3 set pieces, 3 goals for them, which is disappointing for us.
Was it the defending on the day for you guys, or was it the first goal by Kendall? What was the turning point that had the game flip over to them?
Yeah, probably the first goal. You know, I think we had quite a lot of possession. I didn't feel like we was in any danger, you know, during open play. But we knew corner kicks, free kicks, they were very dangerous, and you know, goals change games, you know, and they got 3 goals, like I said, from set pieces, and you know, really killed the game for us.
Well, Tyrone, you're from Manchester.
Yeah.
How resilient and how much has the town come together after the terrorist attack?
Yeah, I had a few family members at the concert. You know, it was a really difficult time. You know, not just for Manchester but for the country. I think for everyone, you know, they felt it. You know, it was pretty much a concert really for kids, and you know, something happening like that, it's devastating. But everybody's come together. You know, there's been a lot of support all around the world, which is really nice, and you know, we'll move on, and and it's just unfortunate that that's the world we're living in right now.
Your sister-in-law's all right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. My sister-in-law was there. She loves Ariana Grande. I think she'll be going to the next concert as well. But yeah, difficult time, and her name's Saffron, and I read in the news that I think one of the youngest girls that was killed was called Saffron. So yeah, it's just really, really devastating for all those families.
Thank you very much for your time, Tyrone.
Cool.
And so we're back from the Atlanta audio. But let's talk about some of the other guys. We talked about Waston. Some other standouts. I thought Teixeira had a great game. He was like buzzing all over the place. Jacobson had his moments, especially a couple of times when he was trying to kill the game. You guys, getting your thoughts on some of the other standouts in yesterday's game.
Yeah, I'm going to say this just because I know Andrew Jacobson hasn't been, like, I don't know how to say this, but he hasn't been a main starter since he came here. He's been good to plug in at center back at times, but I think every time he's been put on the field, he has performed up to snuff. And yesterday was just full value. Like, he doesn't get credit. Some say he's an older guy and he's been around, but he's been around for good reasons. He's a very good player to have in our team. He was under the radar pickup for sure, and just the way, like you saw, he's excellent on his feet. He may not be the fastest.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's very technical.
Yeah.
It's like, you're surprising too. You don't expect it, but he's got his moments.
He beat 2 or 3 guys yesterday with just one little pullback move, and he's just a great guy, a great character, and I would like to see him with this right now. If they stay healthy and no suspensions, knock on wood, they like this formation and these players, they could get something done for sure.
Oh yeah,
just that's not wood. Just so you know.
Zach, your thoughts on any stand-up players, or do you have some tweets?
Yeah, I think we got some tweets. I don't know how Michael keeps up the tweets. There's so many.
Yeah. That's why I sent it to you.
Yeah, totally. You were talking about Jacobson. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I think AJ. Yeah. I think AJ's having just a massive season. I think when you go back and you look at the preseason and the early part of the season, if you went to training, he was one of the guys who you could tell. Not necessarily like he was going to play more minutes or anything like that, but on a leadership level with the team, you could see. Obviously, Kendall's the captain, and that's been. I think everyone would say that's been really appreciated the way that's played out. But there was times where at some early training sessions, you would see Robbo take guys like Jordan Harvey and AJ, or just AJ, and they were talking about tactics. They were talking about how they wanted to play. They were kind of discussing those things, and it's great to see him, be a part of that. Part of that discussion, at least, on kind of like where things are at. And now to see him not just kind of be like a off the field influence on the side, to see him be an on the field influence on the side has been really, really encouraging.
He's earned a spot as well, for sure.
Totally. Is it okay if we go to some tweets, Steve?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, keep it about the Atlanta game then.
Yeah.
We'll do more tweets about other topics later on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have one about refereeing.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's not...
That kind of fits the Atlanta game, considering that call.
So it's from... Let me read here. It's at AFTN Canada.
Oh, excellent. I think I know that guy.
Yeah. So Michael tweeted and he said, with Ortiz only getting a 1-game ban, does that make the benefits of diving for a penalty outweigh the punishment?
If it coincides with 3 points for that team, yes, it does. The suspension is no big deal for players that get 3 points for the team because of a dive. I think it needs to, for like that kind of situation, maybe up it to 2. But I think even then some teams will take it, like DC United. Like, they were struggling; they needed to win any way possible.
Yeah, for me, I think it'd be based on 2 things. Like, one would be, who you're playing the next game. I don't think you dive on purpose, but that just for me. And 2 would be, like, for me, when I played soccer, it's just tough to take a dive and say, oh, yeah, like, that was a foul for sure. But, like, for me, I don't know, professional soccer players are different, but it's just so hard to take the dive and own up to it and say, oh, that was a foul for sure, right? But I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
So during the 2010 World Cup, I wrote a blog I was doing some blogging for The Sun, and I talked about this. So, like, this is a huge cultural thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So we could talk about this forever, right? But, there are cultures around the world where embellishing simulating, diving, whatever language you want to use to describe it, is actually it's not viewed in the negative way that most North Americans view it. Right? It's viewed as being clever. It's viewed as like if you can con the referee, then then you've done well. And even if you get caught, you were clever for trying to con the referee. So
it's a badge of honor almost.
Yes, in many ways, right? So that's why the hand of God goal is an example. It's not looked down upon. It's like this glorious moment. And obviously,
a certain country doesn't agree with you.
It worked out very well for them. But no, so I do not think that the punishment fits the crime, to be honest. It was, especially when you look at Ortiz being fined for simulating, not that affected the result of the game, but simulating the game before he was fined, and then now he only got a 1-game ban and a fine. First off, like they've done with allocation money, we need to know what these fines are.
Yeah.
We know what their salaries are. We need to know what these fines are. If these fines are $500 or $2,500 or
it's
like
worth it.
Yeah, like because we don't know, is the player paying that? Is the club paying that? Right?
It's usually union agreed, these fines.
Right. So we should know. We should maybe someone does, but we should really know what those are. Like because the punishment for me did not fit the crime. It should have been a two match ban at least.
Yeah.
But then again,
if they're gonna do suspension, but if they're not, then who cares, right?
But they're also going off precedent a little bit, right?
Yes.
So I didn't agree with it. I thought there was the year before there was reason for a penalty given, but Masato Kudo was given a 1-match ban for the same thing, which
I think they were trying to overcompensate last year, and I think now they're probably maybe getting more into what they want to do with that rule.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out the rest of the season, especially with the second half with VAR coming in. VAR.
For sure. So that's, I guess, enough talk about Atlanta. It was a great win. We're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with more talk on the Caps and the midweek game against Montreal. Welcome back. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM and online at CITR.ca from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam territory. It's kind of a mouthful there. That last track that you heard before coming into break was the Wonder Woman theme song. A great movie. Saw it with the kids. Nice. They loved it. They think Wonder Woman is better than Batman and Superman right now, so it's awesome. But
wait till you watch The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well, they haven't seen that part. They were too young for that.
Have you seen Wonder Woman?
Yes.
Okay,
I just said that.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay, don't tell me.
I'm not spoiling. But speaking of Wonder Woman, you have to wonder what the Whitecaps were thinking when it comes to the Voyageurs Cup. Now, I put out a poll. I'm gonna actually give you guys the poll results. It's not, It's. I asked which set of results would you rather have this week for the Caps: a win versus Atlanta, an exit from the Cup, or advance in the Cup and loss in Atlanta. Basically, comes 68% like the results the way they went up, and 32% would rather advance in the Cup and have a loss against Atlanta.
I saw your poll, but I didn't answer.
Okay,
because I figured we'd talk about it here.
What would your answer have been? You could have answered. You could have voted in the poll.
I mean, it's not that simplistic, right? I think it's a lot more complex than that.
Well, polls have to be simplistic in order to get them answered.
Right. I think. I'm
not going to put an essay out on Twitter. People
140 character essay. I definitely would have taken advancing in the Voyageurs Cup. However, had we exited the Cup and also lost to Atlanta,
that would have been the worst. That's why I never put that option out there.
It would have been devastating.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on the overall game and everything, and how it went for them? Obviously, how it went for them wasn't that great, but
okay. So the difficult thing is this: to be honest, I don't really have a lot of problems with how we approached the first leg, aside from the fact that Matthias Laba didn't play.
Yes.
However, I've been told that the reason why he didn't play in the first leg, as they were maybe going to include him, is because he took a knock in the match on that Saturday, and that's why he didn't play on the Tuesday. the home leg. So I wasn't surprised by the approach for the home leg. Obviously, we needed a clean sheet, and we didn't get that, and we were lucky not to come away with 2 goals conceded. But I was pretty much okay with the approach, and with the result. Obviously, we won, so that was good. Would have longed for there to be a clean sheet. Great that Alfonso scored. Just exciting. Great that Nico scored. Also was awesome. My biggest concern was the approach for the second leg. So as soon as I heard from people about who was traveling and not traveling and all that kind of stuff, you knew that we were not valuing the competition. Like in my mind, or the way I look at it is we were not really respecting the competition. We did not really want to. We weren't going to extend too much effort to advancing. And Montreal, having the second leg at home, you knew that they were going to play a much stronger lineup, and they did. And in my mind, they showed that they valued the competition, that they wanted to win. Now, the one thing I'll say, so that was extremely frustrating, and that's not sorry, and I say that in nothing against the players who played in either of the legs for us. I love them. I want them to do well. I thought they did pretty well in the first leg, and the second leg there was they made it a tie. We lost by literally 1 goal, and the fight back was nice. Happy that Kyle Gregg scored. Is great. Alfonso scored again. Some
positives.
Some positives. However, the approach really, really frustrated me. However, what I think, as I've thought about it a little more this week, what I think this shows is it shows a little bit about where the football club is at and kind of what they've accepted. And by that, what I mean is this: I think you have an opportunity to educate and to show and to prove what is important to you as a football club. So if the Voyageurs Cup is important, you go out of your way to make sure you do well and stuff. And we've seen this in the past. We've seen the front office try and educate people in their videos and in their articles, and I think they've done at least a respectable job in that sense. And we've seen it in virtually, I think, every year of this competition. You look last year. We went to Ottawa. We played guys who hadn't been playing. We lost 2-0. We came home. We strengthened the side. We won 3-0, went through. Yeah. We've seen it at Edmonton. 1-1 Edmonton here, which was shocking, right? Gersh scored late. Went to Edmonton. It took Matthias Laba a late goal in extra time or whatever.
Yeah.
To go through. We've seen all those
crazy results, unexpected stuff.
However, what I think this shows is that when what most people would know, or this is all people care about, is that the only thing that really matters to this football club, because this is tied to attendance, it's tied to revenue. The only thing that matters is qualifying for the MLS playoffs. Yeah. The Supporter Shield doesn't matter. The Cascadia Cup doesn't really matter
at this point,
except for it's tied to getting into the playoffs, or hopefully is. The Voyageurs Cup is not that huge of a deal, because look what happened in the Champions League this year. We played Dead Bull New York, and how many did we get? See, what was the attendance? 15,000? 14,000?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we got for a quarterfinal against them. Then we played what some people would say is the best team we will ever play in a competitive match.
Yet they lost. Yeah.
And when we got 16,000, was it 17,000?
And a lot of the fans from Mexico.
Well, yeah.
Oh, Mexico or Mexico origins.
There was only
so
fair enough.
I think they have said.
But if you take those away, then you're down to 14, 15 again.
There you go. It looks a little
So
worse.
I think what they've said in one sense is, okay, people here, the most important thing is getting to playoffs. That's what's going to help us progress as a club in their mind.
Yeah.
And so therefore using having a stronger side in that second leg and potentially having a tired or weakened side against Atlanta was not worth it, right? And if you think about it from Robbo's perspective too, 2 years in a row missing the playoffs is probably not a good thing in terms of job security, no matter how long your extension is for or whatever.
Well, the extensions, there are going to be options all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
So so it's and to me, I think an important thing here is that has changed. I think the mentality has changed with this Champions League run. Is that, or with what they saw with this Champions League run? Yes, they want that. I think if you ask them all, they'll say, yeah, we want to win the Voyageurs Cup. We want to get into the Champions League. We want to go further next time in the Champions League. We want to get to the final. We want to win it. All that kind of stuff. They'll say all the right things, but we're not showing that in what we're putting on the pitch. And so that's frustrating in one sense, but it also kind of just shows where the football community is at here. They haven't got enough people to. I was going to use the term buy-in, which is a term I hate, but they haven't got enough people to show that they care about it for them to go out of their way to care for it. One, job security for the coaching staff, and two, I think for the club in terms of revenue. The biggest thing is revenue for them is making the playoffs to get more revenue.
Sure. But I think my biggest issue with this was the fact that again, Laba, he didn't play against DC. He could have played 2 games in a week.
Especially with 2 weeks off.
And Montreal. Yeah, that's the thing with the 2 weeks off. Like they always say, "Oh, you got to rest the players and rest the players."
2-week break
in residency. When they go on those trips to California, they play 2 games in 2 days.
Yeah, but
in the heat.
Yeah, but that's like the USL back in the day.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if they can do it, you could play 2 games in 1 week without getting overly tired. Like, these guys are supposed to be top athletes. Gideon, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I will say this. It's either way, it's a tough situation for Carl Robinson. You play a strong side in Montreal, the second leg. You play a weaker side at home. You get criticized no matter the result just because of the entertainment factor, all that. I don't. You say I'm going to say this. I don't buy into that because either way, it's going to be you're going to have to prioritize the MLS Cup and the Voyageurs Cup, and we have prioritized one or the other in the past, and it has come back at the end of the season to bite us in the rear end. So I will say that. I would prefer right now, with the way things are going the past couple of years, to have success in the playoffs, but as well, Voyageurs Cup is nice, but I will say this, that I would like to do better in the playoffs.
The only problem with that is the playoffs is totally a crapshoot, right?
Yeah, The teams that have finished bottom of the Western Conference have gotten the last 2 times. And the other thing is for Canadian teams, MLS Cup doesn't give you anything.
Yeah,
no Champions League berth like American. That goes only to American teams.
So two more points, Steve. One other way in which we've seen how this has changed in the culture. Martin Rennie's contract would have automatically been extended had we beat Montreal in 2013 in the Voyageurs Cup. Right?
Because at that time they wanted to win it. They wanted to win one at least.
Exactly. So it doesn't get extended, and let's put it this way: shortly thereafter, the coaches knew that their time was coming to an end. Okay, and then he was gone because he didn't make the playoffs. Also, the other thing I wanted to say was that, Rennie. What was the other thing? Now, I'm losing my mind.
Well, let's take a chance to think about that. How about the fact that without the Champions League, they're not going to have as much money to be playing with next year, and will that affect the team where they may have to make some cuts and maybe be they don't spend that much, but they don't spend to the other people's levels because they don't pay for those DP salaries and transfer fees, but they still spend a lot of money on the players, salary cap wise.
So before we're talking about the allocation, I remember the other thing is we were talking about the playoffs, right? It's all about getting to the playoffs. So what have we learned these last 2 years, especially? It's all about being in form at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, is having the beginning of your season focused on winning the Voyageurs Cup really a bad thing? If the important thing is to make sure you're in form and pass the red line in the last 3 months of the seasons, when not only the Seattle and the Portland have done it, but look at the classic LA. Who cares? Bruce Arena. Who cares that we do what we're doing in April and May? It's as long as we're in form in August, September, October. That's all that matters, right? Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think does not work with the whole. It's not that important.
Well, I think from what I can remember, we have done that before. We've won the cup, and then later in the season, I don't know, it just burned out, or I don't know what it was, but we didn't have success as well. But that's what I think is that it can go either way for Robinson. It's always tough for him this time of year with games and different things going on.
So getting back to what you were saying before, Steve, this is going to be really interesting to see how this impacts squad building.
Yeah.
So I know
now if they advance in the playoffs, they get money for that.
Yes.
So they can make it up by advancing the playoffs. Right. But like you said, it's a crapshoot at this point.
But from what we understand, you get allocation money of one form or another for making the Champions League. You get more in the past when you make to the knockout stage. Now, obviously, things have changed, so we don't know how those amounts are going to be amalgamated or changed or altered.
And we'll never know.
And we'll never know. And that's the other thing. There are people who spend a lot of time and effort into crunching the numbers on all this. The crazy thing is, though, that allocation money in the past, unless they've changed it, has expiry dates, right? And it's not all just one season expiry dates, right?
Yeah.
So I know there's lots of people who spend a lot of time trying to be capologists out there, and that's, if you love doing that, do that. But you're it's like trying to do a puzzle, and you don't know how many pieces are in the puzzle, and you don't, you only know part of what the picture looks like.
I love following the cap, and other sports like hockey and football, they give you information. You have all the information you need.
Right.
With MLS, you don't have. So it's a lot of guessing of what is how these things fit into where they fit in. Much easier in other sports, for sure. And people like when I see people get putting together caps and how they do this, I did it and I just showed like the range of players, right? When I did a graph there. But people trying to figure out how much they can spend and how you can't. It's impossible.
And people claiming they know explicitly?
No,
nobody does.
Especially
unless it's probably maybe 4 people in each organization that knows explicitly like every single detail of what's going on.
Right. And
I think in some MLS teams, even the coaches might not know exactly what they have to find out if they can do something before they can do it.
Oh, definitely in some clubs for sure.
Another thing that's going to be affected by lack of Champions League games and even the Voyageurs Cup games is playing time for younger players. We saw a lot of younger players do well this time around, but they're going to be going to WFC2, and some will be going on loan as well. So Michael talked to Robbo and asked him about loaning out players. One player was rumored to be loaned out, Marco Bustos, and Robbo mentions him too. So we'll play that quick clip, and then we'll come back and discuss that.
In the last couple of seasons, you've kind of used Canadian Championship and Champions League to kind of blood or give minutes to the fringe guys, the younger players. You're not going to have that now for the rest of this season or start of next year. How do you get these guys ready to come in when they're needed in MLS?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is a real good question. They're going to have to play in the USL. I'm going to look at loaning a number of these guys out. I think they need competitive games. I think the USL is a great platform for my young players to play, but I also believe that some players, when they go down, feel that they probably don't want to be there, and I don't want that to ever be created at this football club. So maybe the gap in between is a loan opportunity for someone, whether it's a different country or a different league. So there'll be 3 or 4 guys that I look to maybe get loan experience for 6 months.
Is Bustos a candidate for one of those loans?
Have you asked him? Yeah, no, he is. He will be. Boosty needs to play. Boosty's played minimal minutes in the 2 Canadian Championship games for me, but he needs to play. And with the amount of players that I've got here, he's still a big part of this football club, but he does need to go and play now, because otherwise he'll get frustrated. And I don't want him to get frustrated, because he is a super young talent, so he will be one of them.
So that was Robbo talking about the players getting loaned out, including Marco Bustos. Sorry about that. So that was Robbo talking about the players getting loaned out, including Marco Bustos. What do you guys think, Gideon? Who do you think from like seeing all the young guys? Like they mentioned Marco Bustos, a guy like maybe Ben McKendry might get a chance to get loaned out. Obviously, Debbie Flores. We don't know if he's loaned out or still here. Or
Where is he?
Okay. Yeah. So Debbie Flores from the roster thing is on loan.
Spent some time in Vancouver too.
He's here. He was at the WFC2 game. I think it's probably not too crazy to presume he's on loan with WFC2, but it's also probably not too crazy to think that might not always be the case. There might be other options for him.
Yeah, from the rumors I've heard is Bustos to Universidad de Chile. I'm not sure about that. Again, like Bustos, I would like him to go and play competitive minutes somewhere, whether that's...
It seems like he's bored in WFC2. Every time I see he scores a goal, he doesn't seem to care. I don't know if he's trying to just play it cool.
We were talking about that on the way here. Yeah,
seems either he's trying. It's not even this year. It's last year too. Either he wants to play it cool like he's always been there, but he used to celebrate a lot during residency during the U18 games, and when he first joined WFC2. But it's kind of like simmered down. I don't know if they told him that or not. What's going on?
Well, I love Marco. Like, it's been great to see him like grow up as a footballer and as a young man, and like he has so many gifts. Like, you watched him, Steve, so much over the years.
I watched this opening game in residency at U16.
Right. So it is a bit frustrating, disappointing. I'm not sure. Maybe a combination of the two to see him like that. Yeah, like they scored that penalty like in
even when he scores a spectacular goal, it's like no reaction at all. Yeah.
But I think it was the penalty against UBC a week or two ago.
Well, he scored today too,
and he scored again today. Yeah. I didn't really see his reaction to it, but
same.
Was it the same? Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. So yeah, because to me the only thing is it might be an indication of like this is below me. And that's the only concerning thing. Like, he doesn't have to go jump and kick the corner flag and whatever.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see a little bit more emotion and a little bit more. It's not even the celebration. It would, and I think lots of people are saying this. I think it would be nice to see him go out and dominate those games.
Yeah.
Because when we used to watch U18, even against the top U18s, he would go out and dominate.
Yes.
Like he wouldn't just like pop up and score a goal or take a PK. He would like control the game. The other team would have to like readjust their game to deal with him because he was like just taking it to them, right? Like,
and I think he plays well right now too at this level, like at WFC2. I think he plays really well, and I think in the few times we've seen him at MLS, especially in preseason, when he's played centrally, he's done really well. People have mentioned that he's done really well. It's when they put him out wide that he doesn't do as great, and then everybody criticizes him. But that's not his natural position. He's never played out wide before.
Right, and I don't think he should be playing out wide personally, but there also has to be he's got to fight, right? Like this is not nothing can be taken for granted, and you need to have that never say die, I'm going to do everything I can mentality. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but that's what you need to have when you're in that. You need to fight for your place in the team.
Yeah.
Every training session, you need to, the effort you put in, the staying behind, the being early, all those, like you need to be like proving. You need to prove yourself, right? Yeah. And he's at that stage. And we've talked about this before. We have players who come through in an age group, they're amazing. And maybe WFC2, they put in a performance or a shift or whatever, but they can't make that quite that leap.
Yeah, the next step, basically.
And then I think they get discouraged and they don't know what to do. We've seen this with lots of guys, right? And some of them are making it in other places or seem like they're making it in other places, and others we don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
Right? They've fallen off the map, the footballing map. So for Marco, he is so gifted and so talented. He needs to play football. Wherever that is, he needs. If that's more WC2 with a little bit more of a goal of dominating those games, like imposing himself on those games, or if it's on loan somewhere. And yeah, everyone's read the tweets about Chile as an option, which makes sense because obviously his heritage.
His parents are potatoes.
Right. That's just
Google Translate.
Yeah, that's Google Translate. Steve's Google Translate reading from a week ago. And I've heard other places might be an option as well, but we'll see how everything kind of shakes down. And I would hope he can go. I mean, you look at big clubs. Big clubs utilize loan deals very well.
Yeah.
So probably one of the greatest examples of this, of a footballer I know, like a world class footballer, is Philippe Lahm. When Philippe Lahm was a kid, I saw him play at Bayern as a kid, like some friendlies at the end of a season. What did they do? They didn't keep him when he was like 18 or 19 and not going to play and just sit on the bench or whatever. No, they sent him to Stuttgart on like a 1.5 or 2 year long loan where he was going to play every game. And that's where his development from being this, Bavarian kid who grew up in the Bayern system and was trained in their ways, then went out and was able to go and do that in the top flight and get the minutes, get the time, hone his skills, came back and...
It happens in other sports too. Like you guys probably don't want to hear this, but in wrestling, in Japanese wrestling, what they do is they train the guys and then they send them out to other parts of the world to learn different styles of play or different wrestling moves and everything like that. So and then they come back and then they become the stars that.
Are you talking wrestling or MMA?
Wrestling.
Okay.
Professional wrestling. Not that stuff in cages.
You can't see this obviously. You should have seen the smile on Steve's face when he said professional wrestling.
Yes, professional wrestling. So getting your thoughts on loan deals and what you expect to see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me because I know before arguably, Bustos was behind Morales before he left. Bustos was behind Morales, and he wasn't playing much minutes. And now that Morales is gone, the 10 spot is opened up. And I don't know if he realizes that he should take it. He's a good enough player and smart enough guy to know that. But I just don't know right now. It's kind of like a Kian's Rose situation. I don't want to jinx anything, but for right now, that for me, I think he should go to a big club like you mentioned, Zach, and just do well. And a coach that knows the game as well as knows him, that he should just go there and do his thing. It can't be too big so that he doesn't play, though, right? You've got to find the right balance. Yeah. The Lom illustration, he was good enough. They weren't just saying, "Oh, we'll do this as part of the deal." He was good enough to play, right? Can he go to FC Edmonton or no?
They can. Yeah, you can, but I don't know. I don't think that's good enough. That's similar to a USL. Let's get him on some grass. That's a sideways. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. No, so a couple other grass. You mean by playing surface? Yes, playing surface. Let's not. Let's not send him to Colorado or anything. No, so there's a few other players we could talk about this. We can only loan so many players to WFC2, right?
One per season.
Oh yeah, like you can send people for short term, but season long is just one. Okay. Yeah,
I thought Richie was already on.
I think he is. Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so
I'll never know.
So yeah, and then there are other guys like Ben McKendry. Who else is in there? Marco, who we talked about. No, he's not going to go on loan. He's not going to go on loan. But yeah. No, there's no way he's going on loan.
Not until he recovers.
We need cover. Yeah. I mean, update on him. He's not. He's like kicking a ball. Things are going well, but July is still his kind of return date. He's not going to go anywhere because he's going to be cover for Jordan Harvey.
Unless Sam comes back, then you can send him.
No, well, that's the other player, right? Yeah. He's not fit yet, from what we understand, fit enough to be in the 18.
Yeah,
that's why he's not on the roster yet, because he's not ready to be.
Yeah.
But he is another player who I think we can all see being loaned out again to.
I think either Champions League or League One of the two.
I think you mean Championship.
Championship or League One.
Yeah.
And because I think with his time, I think it was Bristol. Brighton. Sorry, Brighton. He didn't get as much playing time, so maybe one league lower, and maybe he gets even more playing time at that point.
He did do well though when he
did. Yeah, in the cup games, I think he really did well.
But unfortunate injury.
Yeah, so he's another one I think that is a possibility for a loan.
I think they need to send Paulo Tornaghi somewhere, because Spencer Ritchie should be starting, or I think the backup. So coming off the bench.
So if they recall him, can they send somebody else?
So that's
the thing I'm not sure about.
So and that's the interesting thing, is in terms of, because it very much appears that
for MLS they can only do emergency loan. That's why they were able to call him up for Ousted's red card, and they were able to call him up. But otherwise, they can't bring him in and then put him behind. That's why Tornaghi's always on the bench, even though Ritchie is doing really well.
Yeah. So, but that's going to be interesting, because obviously they've communicated, either actually sat down and have a conversation with Paulo, or by who's played and all that kind of stuff, they've communicated to him that he is no longer the second keeper. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that and how that plays out. But I think something could play out with that even in this season, but definitely by the end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. We'll look into that and see how that all breaks down. It's probably going to be the summer transfer window where we see the loans obviously can happen anytime, but the summer transfer window, we'll see where all the other rosters stuff happens and anybody comes in or leaves. We're going to come back and talk more about the kind of, they're not a midway season, they're not even a third or whatever, but we're going to kind of, because they're in an international break, we're going to come back and talk about the cap season so far. Some off the pitch stuff that happened this week, right after these messages. Welcome back. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM and online at CITR.ca from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam territory. Now, coming back, guys, like I said, we're not. It's hard to say this is a mid-season recap, but they're on international break. They have a break this week, next week. Sorry. What are you guys' thoughts on this overall Cap season so far? Obviously, we talked about the Voyageurs Cup exit, but this overall season, did you expect them to be where they are right now, or are they exceeding expectations? Are they meeting? Where do you see them going?
It's I think in the league, there's been a number of highs, I think, and highs that we wouldn't have expected, like 2 out of 4 wins on that road trip, and I think though one of the things that's frustrating is how the 2 competitions have impacted the league season, because the focus was on the Champions League, and then the focus was not on the league and not on the Voyageurs Cup. And the really frustrating thing was, and we talked about this at the time a little bit, but the real frustrating thing was, if the focus was on the Champions League, we should have done more to get some league games moved, because that impacted the league campaign. So we saw Dallas got it done. I don't know what that means. I don't know how much money they had to pay, or who they had to pay, or what they had to pay, or why they had to pay. But Dallas got it done. We've seen other teams in previous seasons get it done, but we didn't for whatever reason. Whether it's financial, whether it's logistical, whether it's a combination of the two, or other things. So that was kind of frustrating, because they did make the Champions League a priority, which was great. But at least 1, if not 2 matches should have been moved, so that we could have tried to even do even more, especially against Tigres. So the San Jose game, obviously, San Jose away, should have been moved.
Well, it's tough to say. I'll say this first, that I know, like you say, Dallas did get their game moved. I know the game was in San Jose and the game was in Mexico. I know that's a long distance, but I don't know where Dallas's game that was that weekend that got moved, but San Jose is closer to Mexico than, say, like, I don't know where else in MLS that would be closer. But I just think it was okay that they had it in San Jose and then they went to Mexico. But for me, anyways, it was okay that they didn't move it. But I know you have disagreements, Zach, and I'm just gonna say, for overall grade of the season, for right now, for what they did in the off season, I think they're doing okay. I like the moves they made in Ibini. I think he's going to be interesting player. Not sure what he's going to look like now, but I'm interested in and looking forward to seeing him in the 11 if he does get in with the way the team's playing right now.
Yeah. So then you go to the Voyageurs Cup, though. And look, Montreal, again, I don't know if it was how they requested their scheduling, but they didn't have a game this weekend, right? And that greatly helped them. That helped them focus on this, make the second leg the priority.
They had a full week, right?
Right.
Yeah,
totally. So scheduling with MLS is weird. Obviously, you have all these stadium things. You have U2 wants to use your ground as their jam
preparation.
Session.
Basically, preparation setup.
I understand there are difficult realities you have to deal with. However, we know that the front office has an ability to request things with scheduling and to fight for things. Right, like Greg Kerfoot, the owner, is a part of the board. Like as an owner, is the majority owner, is a part of the MLS board, and he speaks up on certain. We've heard in the past about him speaking up on certain things, or the Whitecaps organization speaking up on certain things.
You can fight for it, but if they're not going to give it to you, they're not going to give it to you. There's nothing you do at that point, and we won't know what they can give and what they can.
But we know that they've moved, not just this year. We know in previous years they've moved matches for clubs because of Champions League.
Yeah.
We should have done that. And as Michael I think said at the time, if not for our betterment in the Champions League, then for the betterment of our league campaign, so that those games don't suffer.
Exactly.
Right?
I totally agree with you there.
So for example, Philadelphia was an awful game coming out after the Tuesday, I think in New Jersey.
Oh, it was in New Jersey.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
It was an awful game.
Yeah.
I know it's opening weekend, whatever. Could we not have maybe moved that game?
Yeah.
San Jose, I know it's on the way.
Yeah.
I know we got a charter out of it. I don't know if that was a financial thing too.
No,
they paid for a charter. I don't know how that worked. I don't know what went on. But that to me that's not good enough. Like that game needed to be moved. Like
I saw this week, that Mary Srovde did respond to somebody and say that each MLS team is allotted one charter flight per season to their choice. So
yeah, and Atlanta's choice was to Vancouver.
Yeah,
they chartered here, and
so did Kansas City.
When I got to the dressing room, because the thing is about Atlanta, they traveled to Seattle this year. They traveled to Portland
and here. Wow.
Pardon?
And here?
Yeah.
And here.
We got all three.
And then RSL as well. And now, for the rest of the season, I didn't know about this when I was asking questions to the players. Their furthest travel is Kansas City. They're not going to come west of Kansas City for the rest of the year. So, and they don't have to, I don't think they even have to come up to Canada or anything. So, basically, New York and Kansas City.
They have to play Montreal and Toronto, though.
No,
I think they've already
played Montreal and Toronto once.
Yes.
So, away?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, they have.
I'm almost sure.
Yeah, they did very well. They've done it.
So they've already done a lot of their road trips. A lot of their long road trips have already been taken care of.
And the Montreal. Yeah, you're right.
They played very well against those guys. So.
Yeah. So they when I went down to the dressing room, they had their tickets for the charter all laid out. They were slapping the luggage tags on the actual luggage tags that the attendants put on. They were on the luggage, and they were just shipping it out.
Nice.
They had like half an hour to get out of there.
That's so nice for them. But no, it's like stuff should have been done. Like we lost points in the table that we didn't need to lose.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about Champions League and you care about the league, you care about the playoffs.
Yeah.
We lost points we should not have lost. Or we were fighting with like one arm behind our back.
But the thing is, the one thing that exceeded my expectations, I thought they were going to be around the 5th, 6th spot right now at this point, especially when Reyna got injured early in the year. I thought that was really going to hamper them pushing up. But the change of formation, I thought, was the big turnaround for me and surprising. And that exceeded my expectations because I never expected them to change anything like that.
And that's only the last 5-6 games, right?
Yeah, since I think RSL was different. That was a 3-man back.
It was an RSL.
That was a different fun change.
Yeah. Then after that, I think Portland was the first one, wasn't it?
Or Seattle home?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember now.
I think it was
seems so long ago.
Away. Yeah, it was Portland because that was a stretch of the consecutive games. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the one thing that exceeded my expectations.
Robinson deserves a lot of credit for that, though, more than people think, just because of the way he's put that team out, the right team out. Yeah.
And the thing is, they're banging in goals from a lot of different people.
Yeah, and it's not just
they don't have to rely on. They got Montero on a few goals at the beginning of the year, and I know he slumped and he kind of broke that slump with Timmy Parker's goal. But I think that you don't need to rely on the one guy, and other guys can contribute like Teixeira, Bolaños, Jacobson against Montreal. That was a huge goal. So I think if you don't have to rely on them, then you're really good. Another guy who will come into the lineup and hopefully take pressure off everybody and score some goals is Bernie Ibini. He's from Australia. He'd been around I think he was in Belgium for a bit.
Yeah.
China bought him or something. No, China bought him first. He came back to Australia, went to Belgium, came back to Australia. Now he's with Vancouver. Hopefully he sticks around here in Vancouver for a bit. And Michael had a chance to talk to him. So we'll play that now, and then we'll talk a little bit about him.
You've been here for a couple of weeks now, Bernie. How have you found Vancouver compared to what you're used to over in Australia?
To be fair, I found it very similar. The weather hasn't been as good, that's for sure. But I found it very similar. It's like a very beautiful city, and I can't wait to get to know it even more. So, looking forward to that.
Now, the move to MLS, I know you kind of touched upon this when you first came here, but what was behind your thinking of it? To leave the A-League, and you've been with Bruges as well, what was it about Major League Soccer that really tempted you to come and have a shot here?
Well, I think I just wanted to have like a different experience, and obviously Major League Soccer is something that it's a pretty good league. I've watched it back home in Australia on TV and stuff like that. So it was something I think I could come here and try and improve and become a better player.
Now, you started your career in the A-League and then you went to Belgium. How did that move come about with Bruges? When did they first start to show interest in you?
Well, I went over for a trial, I think, when I was about 20. And so I went over there. To be fair, it was a very short trial. I think I was only there for 7 days because it was during the season. So I think from then on they sort of kept tabs. And then I think, when I turned, I think it was 22, then they said they wanted to sign me, and then that's how it came about, and that's how I went over there.
And how did you find playing over there at that level? I mean, the Belgium league, it's not one of the top leagues, but it's a really strong league in Europe. Did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, I enjoyed my time, but obviously it was a bit tough for me because I got injured after 2 weeks over there, so I only spent like 2 weeks actually on the pitch, and then after that it was all like surgery and all that sort of stuff. So I enjoyed my time there, but obviously, like in terms of actually playing, it was a bit tough because I was injured.
And then you went back to the A-League, and then the team had a really good year this year. How disappointing was it for you to miss out on that grand final?
Oh yeah, of course. Like it's the biggest game of the season, so to miss out on playing that was obviously very disappointing. But we got the job done, and I was very happy. And to be part of a winning team, that's what you always want to do. And it was such a successful season, and I know I did my part when I could, and I was so happy that the boys got the job done and that we were able to win the championship.
And a lot of folk here maybe don't know too much about the A-League, but there's a lot of similarities, I think, between the A-League and MLS, just in how it's structured and things like that. How did you find the quality and the level, and how good do you think Australian soccer is right now?
I think the level's pretty good. It can I think it's definitely a league that's growing a lot as well, but I think the level is definitely pretty good, and you can see there's a lot of players that do go from the A-League to like places in Europe and stuff like that. So I think it's a league that is still growing. There's obviously only 10 teams, so I think once they can bring some more teams in, I think it will get even bigger.
And you've played internationally for Australia at a youth level, also a couple of senior caps as well. Is the hope that if you come here and you do well here, that you'll kind of put yourself back in the international frame?
Yeah, for sure. I'd definitely like to do that. If you ask any player to play for their national team, is such an honour. So, yeah, if I could get come here and start playing well and get minutes into my legs, and then, yeah, if that was to happen, I for sure would be very happy with that.
Now, you came here with that injury of the hamstring. You look pretty good out there now, though. Are you pretty much good to go?
I would say there's still a little bit left, I think, because I just started joining with the team fully now, but I would definitely like to join with the team a bit more, and then also get a bit more training sessions under my belt before I would actually play, because obviously being out for, it's not a long time, but being out for a bit, your sharpness and stuff like that isn't really there, and coming off the back of a season as well, so the body is still getting used to training again as well. So I think I'll definitely at least 1 or 2 weeks with training with the team, and then whenever the staff are ready, then I'll be happy to play.
I'm going to ask you actually about that. You've come from a full season. It's always hard because we've had players before that we've signed them in the summer and they're coming off a full season and they've never had any rest. Is this kind of like a rest for you now to get you up to speed? Or how hard is it going from one full season to then come into another league that's mid-season?
Yeah, it's definitely very difficult. I think even maybe if I wasn't injured, maybe it would have been a bit easier, but seeing that I was injured now, I'm almost doing a pre-season again. So, and pre-season is always very tough. So it's difficult, but it's something I'm looking forward to. I'm young and I'm fit and I'm strong, so I think I can handle it.
And you're known as a winger, but you can also play a striker as well. Robbo's kind of mentioned he probably sees you as a winger, but also maybe helping Freddie Montero out as a striker or whatever. Where do you feel most comfortable playing, or any of the attacking positions you find with that?
Well, yeah, generally I've played as a winger my past couple of seasons, but yeah, even when I started professionally, I was playing as a striker. So I think, either or for me is fine, but I would say maybe winger is where I've played most of my time as a professional. But yeah, anywhere across the front line for me, I'm comfortable to play.
That's great. Thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing you pitch, and thanks so much. Welcome to Vancouver.
Cheers.
Thanks, Bernie.
That was Bernie Ibini talking to Michael about his chances and how he feels. He said he still has a little bit to go with the injury. I think they just want to be cautious because with hamstring injuries, if you come too quickly, you can re-injure it very fast.
Very easily. First off, it's nice to have some Michael's music on the show.
Typical waltzing Matilda in a punk.
Yeah. It's Bernie's an interesting player, watching, the clips and hearing a little bit about him and listening to Robbo talk about him and all that kind of stuff. We were talking while the interview was going on there about the interesting thing about both Bernie and Jordy returning to the team is how are they going to fit in with this formation? How are they going to fit it? How are we going to fit this whole puzzle kind of together? Because for me, anyways, and Steve, maybe you see this differently. I don't see really either of them fitting in with how we're playing right now. Especially Jordy. Like Jordy to me requires us a change to back to 4-2-3-1, and you have a player who's a little less defensively inclined, which has been one of our strongest things in this last stretch of games, is being so strong in the middle of the park. That's going to be really, really interesting. I think Bernie could play wide, or he could play up front.
If Shea can play up front, then I think Bernie can play up front.
Yeah. Shea and a Bernie feel a little bit similar. One's left-footed, one's right-footed, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, he could play on either wing and or I guess up front.
The thing is about Reyna, it might not have worked if he was just like he was playing and they just changed. But maybe because he's sitting and watching this, maybe he's picking up things, and obviously they're talking to him a lot about how they want the system to play. Maybe he can fit in, and if he buys in and everything, so I think it's possible. What? Getting your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't. Right now, I don't know. The way Jordy, I'm sure you're there firsthand. You saw how he was in preseason. He looked.
He's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. So
maybe they switched it back to 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, that was before a lot of things happened for the season. The formation changed, the personnel changed, the injuries. So it'll be very interesting to see where Jordy and Bernie come in.
And I would be okay with that. But I know, Steve, you were saying, they can just swap them out for Channy, for example. To me,
it'll be a different feel, but. I think the amount you lose going back, you might get more going forward. So I think it might be a trade-off that way.
Yeah, but so far, he feels a little bit too much like a luxury player, like a little bit like Davide, for example.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to say I haven't seen him play enough to say that he's not going to defend.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm worried about.
I don't think Reyna eats pasta like Davide does, so I don't think we have to worry about that.
No, I don't.
Mid-season being out of shape for him in that season.
Right. I'm missing your bandana this week.
Oh, I know.
Where is it?
It was in the wash.
Oh, okay.
I was pressure washing today, so it got dirty.
Next week for the 200th episode.
We'll do it.
All right. No, I mean, a new player into the side. I hope they kind of do what it seems like they're doing with Breck Shea right now, which is bringing him in slowly or gradually, not taking any chances, which it seems like they're more being a little bit more cautious with, and maybe that's just my perception, but it seems like because there's been so many injuries and stuff, they're kind of being gentle with people, I guess.
And the thing is, like we were talking about formation, they could have gone to this 4-1-4-1 because there was no other options. They just didn't have anybody to play the number 10, and nobody that wanted to. Like Bolaños was kind of iffy on playing number 10, and now if Reyna comes back, maybe they are going to switch to a 4-2-3, back to 4-2-3-1. Although I don't know how they can because it's so successful, this 4-1-4-1.
Yeah, but I don't think so because in those games they would make that adjustment, right? And they'd switch. They'd bring on, for example, they'd take off Channy and they'd bring on Davies. Davies would go wide, Bolo would go middle, and it was the 4-2-3-1, right, or an augmented form of what they were playing previously in the game. But yeah, it's going to give them different looks and different opportunities. And I mean, the other thing is Breck. I mean, he only played 10 minutes in this last game, and he still had at least one chance that I can remember, and was in on some others and throwing his body around a little bit. Like Breck's been in some pretty good form in these last 3 or 4 games, right? That he's been playing, having cameos in. So the battle for places in training is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I was just gonna. Yeah, I right now I'm okay with slowing Ibini and Reyna down just because I don't see any of them right now with the way Teixeira and Bolaños are playing out wide or even in the middle. like say a Chani or Jacobson. I don't see anyone fitting in there, but I'm not sure right now with the way things are going how they're going to fit in. But yeah, like I'm saying, cameo would be great for a while, just like Shea's doing right now.
So we come to a lot of people's favorite part of the show. It's wavelength. And I know a lot of you might have thought that, no, we're not going to have wavelength. The Scottish guy's not here. But at this time, I discovered a song. I was going down the rabbit hole of Spotify and just checking out songs. And I found a few interesting ones pertaining to football, especially one that you hear later on that will get a lot of people laughing. But this one I found, it's by a group that Michael has played in the past, the Vanilla Muffins. I think the song he played was Football is a Drug or something like that. I can't remember the name of the title. I'm sure he's tweeting at us right now as we speak. But this one I found was called Scarves and Fire. So take a listen. Enjoy. This is Wavelength. That was Scarves and Fire by Vanilla Muffins from Switzerland. I'm thinking that has a potential for a chant. That at least the chorus, and then at the end of the chorus, everybody yells Drago, because that's from, they basically took Hearts on Fire from Rocky IV, the training montage, and put that song in there. I think there's potential there. What do you think? Maybe Swan Guardians would take it? not the curva. Okay, I'm getting blank looks from Zach.
I'll say they're from Switzerland, so hopefully Hugh Bolaños listens to this. No relation to Cristiano, or to Christian, or his son Cristiano. But he has an affinity for the Swiss.
Yeah. Another thing, maybe not a Swiss, but it was a miss this week, was the Vancouver Whitecaps marketing department tweeting out that took a lot of people, put a lot of people in rage, basically, on a Twitter rage, was that tweet about the Atlanta coming in 27 goals in 60 minutes, come watch and play, and everything like that. Overall, first of all, I'll give you my thoughts. My thoughts, and I think, Zach, we're similar on this, that it was fine to tweet that out, but they presented it in the wrong way. They could have easily done the know thy enemy, find out what we need to do to stop these guys and stuff like that. Anything like that, like similar, like present Waston and Parker. This is what Waston and Parker are going to stop this week. This kind of attack.
Yeah, I think Michael's article on AFTN.ca kind of is pretty bang on in terms of it's like you have a marketing kind of person probably coming up with an idea like here's how we can, or ticketing person, here's an idea of how we can encourage more people to come and be part of this game. We have this team that's scored a whole bunch of goals already this year. Let's help this with ticket sales and whatever. But it feels like a lack of a footballing person to say this is how you present that to a football audience. And I know people's first response to that will be this was not for the
was for the casual.
Yeah, it's not for the current football audience. It's for
but who's going to react to that?
Hopefully the future football audience. But yeah, here's the thing though. If in a space like Twitter, to get good traction with these kinds of things, you need to have your core people retweet it and or positively comment about it, right? So
or get it trending in a negative way, and then people see it.
Right. So you kind of they kind of shot themselves in the foot, really, and it's unfortunate. And I know it's not the most significant thing in the world, and people kind of reacted like maybe it was, but you wish we were able to get it right.
Yeah, Gideon, what did you think when that all went down? Were you okay with it, or did it just rub you the wrong way, or were you in the middle?
I've watched, I'd say, about half of Atlanta's games this year. I know what they're about. That's great that they've scored 27 goals and whatever, like they're showing it. But you know what? It had the same feel. Like I think they did something like that with New York a couple of years ago, and they showed Lampard, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It's not the right way to draw fans. Maybe they knew they didn't have the numbers. Like going to Twitter is not going to do that. That's why you advertise, hey, Montero's in a streak, try and see if you can break out of that, or hey, Parker and Waston, the best pairing in MLS. And like you said, answer that this weekend. That's you don't show the opponent doing their best. And
the thing is, the local hockey team, they do put ads in the paper sometimes, and they do like put a picture of one player. Like the top player on that team who comes in,
but
something like that.
That's different, though.
Yeah.
But
that's more getting to the casual fans.
But that's also, I don't know if you remember this, but they've done that in the past, and the football supporters here criticized them then for doing that.
Yeah,
for marketing the guys who were coming.
So just do it and just take the criticism at that point.
It's not. That's the other thing about this. It wasn't like the first time, really. I mean, the first time, different form. But it was the same idea.
Yeah, I think that what they need to do is they need to do when they would break down the tactics. Especially in the first season when they would break down the tactics of the opposing team. Show some of the goals they would score. Kind of meld them together to make it more exciting and show it that they're kind of showing how these guys play. And so it's kind of like know thy enemy kind of thing.
Was that like an article on the website?
Which one
was that?
That was with Peter Scheid and David.
Yeah,
Norman,
they did that the first year. They used to put videos out on YouTube, and they used to break it down teams on the pitch and everything that with the cones and stuff like that.
The cones.
Yeah. I think they did that a lot in the first year because they wanted...
The cones, weren't those preseason, though? Or pre-match?
It was away games.
That didn't help sell tickets. That's the only thing.
No, right. So, obviously they need to work on getting more communication between the two. There's been other issues before, the magazine and everything that came out, the fanzine or whatever they want, however they want to promote that. So hopefully they get going on that. We'll talk. You can talk about that next week if you want.
With the fanzine?
Yeah. I know you have issues on that too, but that was last. That's old news now. We can't talk about it.
I would tend to agree with Michael's article on that as well a little bit.
So we're just going to go take our last break, and we'll come back and we'll have an open discussion, some of your guys' tweets, and we'll be right back. So we're back on the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM and online at CITR.ca from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam territory. Now, like we promised before the break, your guys' tweets. Zach, what do we got?
Oh, we got quite a few tweets.
It went kind of, I didn't expect that many tweets.
There was quite a bit of discussion about a few of these things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, probably most of these people are asleep right now and they're only listening to the podcast.
Well, they'll listen to the podcast for sure, yeah.
So, everybody's favorite scarf, Caps_scarf. The Whitecaps attendance has been down this year. Wonder why. 22,330 average last year. This year so far, 21,940. That's according to the scarf. So if something's wrong with that, I'm just quoting that. And then he later goes on to ask a little bit about that. So I'll just read these as well to give it some kind of context. In addition to the attendance, he's also concerned about the arrival time of people.
Well, I know one time was because of the SkyTrain issue.
Yeah, right, that was last week. Yeah.
Right. He asked why people aren't arriving earlier. He asked, if gates were open 90 minutes before kickoff, would that help?
No. Last week, because of maybe Champions League, people are getting from the bar to the game, too.
Totally.
Yeah. So there's... And I remember one time when they had to shut off the game in the middle during a Champions League game. They had it on the big screen, and then they had to shut it off because it went into extra time and penalty kicks.
Yeah,
and people just basically left the seats and went back into the thing.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I think overall, I don't have a big issue with the attendance right now. I don't know if he's saying this time last year or was it for the whole year last year, because it kind of fluctuates here and there, especially when you've had a winter like we've had, like a really cold, raining, and then you have a weekend where it's sunny and everything. The walk-up attendance might not be as great. And walk-up attendance is sometimes 1,000 or 2,000 people or 3,000 people. I'm saying day of game, not people that buy the week before. So I think maybe that might have a little bit something to do with it. Maybe the weird start times, like one week you got 2:30, one 4:30, one time 7. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's true. Like, I don't like to use those kinds of things as excuses, even though it is
They're
true.
Not excuses, they're reasons why.
Right, yeah. There are reasons why, because I sometimes I hear from people, oh, so-and-so's not going to be at the game, or I invited so-and-so, but they're not coming to the game because, the weather is nice and they're going to do something else, which is, I just can't comprehend that. But
the thing is about the soccer games too, is they're basically, you're set for 2 hours. You have a 2-hour window. You don't have to worry about overtime or anything like that. You don't, and you're basically set. And you come and you go. It's probably the quickest sporting event in Vancouver.
Yeah,
totally. One thing that is, I'll say, is in terms of the overall attendance. I think one of the things that's crazy is the ticket prices. Like, ticket prices are, I mean, for me, season tickets are overpriced, and I know that they say that that's that's our community, and that's what they they think the community can afford, and they can charge within the community and whatever.
It's selling what's the term? The economic term?
Buyer beware?
No. Keep going.
I
completely forgot what it was.
But so they're overpriced, right? Like, to me, the season tickets are overpriced, especially when you look at other places where around the league,
supply and demand.
There you go. Yeah. So they would say So they would say that was, I think, one of the reasons why they felt they could charge more. But anyways, if you think so for someone like me who thinks the season tickets are overpriced, and I know there's lots of people who think the season tickets prices are just fine, and that's cool. But if you think those are a little bit expensive, like a single match like ticket, like in the supporter end, is like $39 on Ticketmaster before like $10 worth of fees. So it's like $49 ish for a single match ticket in the supporters end, or in the opposite end, the family end. That's crazy. Whitecap Scarf, I think, tweeted something at us about how like the Lions are now having like $5 kid tickets for their upcoming season.
But they've had really bad attendance, so they need to build that up.
I just thought it's kind of interesting. One thing I will say is we mentioned this last week on the show, but there is an initiative from the Vancouver Southsiders and Curva Collective, who've been working for a number of months at a unified general admission section. That is one of the things that might help in terms of getting people into the building earlier, at least within that section or those sections or whatever that's going to look like. And when I say early, I don't mean like a Portland-style sleepover, camp out weeks in advance so you can get the seat you want. Yeah. I mean more like in how it works in, for example, Middle Cascadia, where they have 3 or 4 sections that are GA and people arrive, when the gates open or shortly thereafter, and they get a variety. They have an option of a variety of types of seats.
Now, while Zach gets his next tweet out, obviously, another thing we could talk about here is the TSS. The Rovers have they had a couple games this weekend. Really inspiring come from behind draw where they were down a man, and a great, fantastic goal you guys called, you and Michael. Your thoughts on how the season's going forward and the weekend itself? Today, I think they came back and won.
Yeah.
And against the Residency, the U18s.
Yeah, Friday, obviously, this is a dream come true for Willie and Colin, and it's awesome to see, from me and Michael's perspective in the broadcast booth, just to see how it's progressing. And those guys just come early and they work hard, and the team does as well. Everyone behind the scenes, they just put everything together so well. And the victory on Friday showed and showed the class of Zach Verhoeven. And even with 10 guys, it's always tough to come back. And even today against the U18 Residency, another good team. It looked like they were going to get outplayed, and they showed character, came back, threw the right guys on as subs, and pulled out the 3-1 win.
Yeah,
so.
It seems like the team is kind of still finding its footing, kind of thing. It's like they've kind of been put together. Some players weren't available. Some players got lost. Like it seems like they're still kind of finding their shape and perfect.
Yeah, to me they have the right pieces, but I think there's a couple more things. They added one guy this Friday, Alejandro Varela. You'll hear about him later, but to me they need a little bit more age, but they have the right pieces to get it done, and they do have some chemistry as well from college. But I think Zach has a tweet here.
No, yeah, I was Ken Funk or Kunky_Fen wanted to hear us talk a little bit about TSS, how they're undefeated at Swangard, and Zach Verhoeven, man. Other than I appreciate his first name, I mean, these last 2 games he has 2 goals that just great quality.
And it's not even the goals, but just during the games, he's just like he's picking up the ball, just pushing it up the field and everything like that. It's hard to imagine that he's actually Canadian sometimes because with the name and everything like that, you think he's been an import from Europe or something like that. But he's playing really well, and the atmosphere at Swangard has been fantastic so far. They've obviously had a late start to like building that support, but they've built it up so quickly. And I think I heard in the tweets they've even started had a new chant with Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen or something like that. So it's working out well. So
Friday night, I think it was. I apologize if I'm wrong. I think it was Ben Massey who started that, and then the whole song got sung.
Oh, that's good.
And it was interesting. No, it was good times. Yeah, there's a good little supporter community there. I think though, if you haven't been, come. Like you need to come and hang out.
$10 is a good price for a ticket.
Totally, and like I think they need attendances to be better. They're in the hundreds. It would be nice to see them break more than 1,000 per game. So come and support local football. Like this is a huge thing.
And if the weather holds up, it's a great place to watch the game.
It's
so like picturesque and everything like that. You get kind of a hint of the mountains and everything like that. You get the trees in the background. You got supporters behind the nets and everything. And as long as they're not harassing people too much, they should be fine.
Well, okay, so on Friday, I think these are kids from the TSS Academy.
Okay.
Their parents, I don't think, want them by the Swan Guardians and the supporters that have gathered there.
If they're kids, they should not be by the Swan Guardians.
So they have their own supporters group on the side.
I saw that.
I don't know if their parents made the banner, but
the PG group.
They're called the Mama's Boys.
Oh.
And there's literally like this horde of young I think they're mostly young TSS players. It's pretty funny.
I think that's fantastic. And when,
there's some call and response.
When they become legal, then they can just move over to Swan Guardians.
There you go.
Or move out of their parents' basement.
But seriously, if you haven't yet come, Steve, every game there has been good weather. I think the first one was cold.
Yeah.
It rained other places, but not at the stadium.
Yeah.
So make sure you get out. I think it's Friday June
16th, 7 p.m. against Portland Timbers. Who else? U23s. That should be a good game.
And
that's the day after my birthday.
And we just tied them, right?
Yes.
We had 10 men. Zach Verhoeven got the equalizer. One of the Pelosi brothers got sent off.
Marcelo Peachy,
yeah. So he got sent. It was a tasty, but it was a feisty and fair as you would expect with a Portland side.
Sorry, 3. That's 3 and 3 for Verhoeven now, and the friendlies and the 2 games.
Nice.
And that's all at Swangar too. He himself, I'd say, is worth the price of admission, if I can say that. So.
Getting back to the tweets, we have some questions about Sam, which we kind of already talked about. One question we got too was about center back depth.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this for a moment, Steve. Do you think we need another center back for depth? Can't remember the last time Dean or Seiler were on the bench for MLS game. Obviously, Dean is still recovering.
And it's not as bad as they first thought it was going to be.
Right, but he's not. He's at least, I think, a couple weeks away still, I want to say. So don't expect to see Dean for a little while.
I think Jacobson's probably their emergency center back at this point.
Right, so they would just move him back and move someone else in the midfield.
Someone up there, which would be a big drastic move from up top.
And one of the reasons why Seiler has not been a player in the MLS 18
WFC2
because they wanted to play WFC2. So, for example, this weekend he's in Portland playing for them. So we saw that.
I think if the knock on wood, there's an injury to one of the 2 starters right now, it would be Seiler. I think that starts alongside. And they wouldn't move Jacobson back at that point. I think they would start Seiler.
Depends on the team.
Maybe it depends on the team, but I think they have confidence in Seiler. It might got us shaken a little bit against Montreal, but I think they're okay with him.
I think the headband you wore last week was on too tight all week because there's no way AJ will be there right now. AJ would be their third choice.
I just don't think they want to mess up with what
I'm
they're
not saying.
front.
I think what I heard was some people's perspective that Sem was probably better in the first leg against Montreal, and the reason why Cole played the away leg was because they wanted to put the one player they put in
Parker
from both legs. The only player they put in who's in the current starting 11 was Parker, and they put him there because he has a good connection on and off the pitch with Seiler, and they thought that would be better than Sem and Parker.
Well, clearly they thought wrong.
Well, yeah, that's a whole.
So any other tweets?
Yeah, we got 1 million tweets, man.
Yeah, we only got about 3 minutes.
We got 1 million minutes.
Make this rapid fire.
Oh, okay. We talked a little bit. Okay, what's going to happen when Shea's fully fit? Do we lose Channy? Do we lose Jacobson? Even at Dallas, do we want? I think this tweet is kind of getting at: is Shea going to get the full game against Dallas because it's his former club? You would say replace him for Channy. I'm guessing, Steve.
Yeah, I think they would probably put him on the wing. Maybe Bolaños coming off the international break might not start, and they put him in for him.
Yeah,
I like the wing.
I
think that might be an option.
We talked a little bit about Jay Duke, our good friend at J_Duke on Twitter, is talking about Robinson starting to show some more or better tactical sense, acumen. Talked about the high press, which we talked a little bit about already. He says, asked if it was noticeable during the game, not just the formation, but a concerted effort to make Atlanta resort to long balls over the top. We talked a little about that.
Oh, I think that was definitely because they knew that they had the advantage in the air. When we saw that on the set pieces either side.
Here's the question I really want to get from Jay Duke. Despite the excellent defensive performance against Atlanta, 2 games now, the Whitecaps were again unable to generate a goal from open play.
That's what I talked about in the opening segment.
Right.
It is a touch of a concern. They are generating chances, just can't finish them in open play. So I'm not overly concerned. It's just like kind of creeping in there.
I'm not concerned at all, man. Like you score 3 goals from set plays, you should win the game.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you do. But I'm just saying creeping because you can't. Set plays sometimes don't always work.
Yeah.
You can't rely on them.
You can't rely on them all the time, because especially in the MLS.
Jay also asked questions about is our striker isolated too much?
I think so.
And is he doing enough? And
I think he's doing as much as he can. I think the frustration he shows that he's trying to do as much as possible. I've seen sometimes he's way in the midfield trying to get involved in the play.
I think Bolaños is trying to do a better job of connecting the dots, but it's not working for him right now.
That's why I think when Reyna comes back, that I think he might be the answer, even though you might lose something defensively and in the pressure up front.
Chris Corrigan's very happy that we played some more high press than we usually have. He's been waiting for it. He says for 3 years.
Well, yeah, they're easing it into. It's a long process. You got to trust the process.
Harvey.
So last tweet then.
Oh, okay, well, hang on. Okay, well, second last tweet. Harvey slowing down. Discuss. And then in brackets,
I think we discussed that last week.
And then in brackets, I'm sad about it.
No, I think it's obviously comes with the game, but we also don't know. We're saying he's slowing down, but. I don't know if they're talking about going forward and everything. He's not contributing as much going forward. Maybe that's what they want him to do, to stay back a little bit and let Williams be the guy going forward.
So kind of make it a 3, sort of, not really.
Because you want 3 people at the back. You don't want both fullbacks shooting up the pitch, especially
which has happened before as well. Yeah. And it's bit us in the behind. So.
But I think he's maybe even contemplating because the goal, it was Garza that scored it. Gressel was wide open on the right side too, where Harvey would have been, and so maybe that's what he's talking about. But I think it's going to come eventually.
For me, it depends on who's on the left wing, because I have seen Harvey interchange well with Davies sometimes this year and Shea, but it just depends who's there, who's fit, who's fast enough to get back and forth, and it depends on the player. So
last tweet. Is just goes back to attendances. It's just a follow up to our discussion that we just had on attendances. Yeah. And this comes from Mike Corbin, and Mike Corbin, as far as I understand, is an island dweller, or has been in the past. He says some of my friends from Vancouver Island are in the 390 shortfall, the difference in the season overall season attendance numbers.
Yeah.
And he says that weekday, Sunday, and matches after 4:30 are the reasons that some people are not coming from the island, because you can't catch a ferry to go home in time that evening.
Correct.
Yeah, and you don't want,
which is unfortunate, because those Georgia Strait supporters, and many of them are Southsiders as well.
So it works better for them Saturday afternoon games.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
So Saturday 2:30 was probably great for them.
Yeah,
because they knew they were going to get home in a timely.
And that's where it helps them a lot, because they know it's 2 hours. They know how much time they need to get to the ferry and get back.
Just no 12 o'clock games, please.
They need to charter a plane back to the island. Then.
Well, what is that little
float plane?
Float plane.
Yeah, float plane.
I don't know how many people carry.
It's got the club's logo. Can't they?
They got the helicopter too.
Can't they charter that thing?
The helicopter goes from downtown to the harbor, whatever.
It's a lot of money, though.
It is. Believe me, it is.
Okay, this goes way back. I remember Brett Graham. If you don't know who Brett Graham, he used to be president of Southsiders. Piltdown Men 7 or whatever. Yeah. He used to fly in. Like so many, when he was living in Victoria, he would fly in just for the game and go home that night or the next morning. Like, this is like in the USL era.
Yeah.
It was crazy how much he would augment his schedule to make sure he was at the matches. That's not a knock against these current Island.
No.
It was amazing all that he did back in the day.
Yeah. Not everybody can do that. It's hard. Depending on, people have families and stuff like that. It's hard to get out.
Now he has a family, and he brings his family to the match.
That's excellent. So with that, we're going to end the show. I know a lot of you are disappointed out there. It's only 1 o'clock. We could go all night, I guess. But just to let you know also, the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for all local, national, and international news, and they provide links.
And another thing is, expect, not in addition to this being a podcast this week.
Yeah,
Michael's also planning on putting out a podcast.
A special midweek podcast will be coming. It's either going to be Wednesday or Thursday. Michael's had some in-depth chats. Kendall Waston before the Atlanta game, talking about Costa Rica. David Edgar. He talked all the things about Caps, what he's been doing. I'm not sure. I think he talked a little bit about his play-by-play color commentary as well as what to expect with Canada. And then he also talked with Paul Stelteri, the Diesel, and he's the newly minted Canadian Soccer Hall of Famer. And so that should be coming out midweek. Also, next with Sunday, it's going to be episode 200 for the AFTN Soccer Show. There's Still Time, our original name. I don't know if we still go by that name or not.
There's Still Time, baby.
It's going to be basically a lot on the Canadian Premier League. There's some interesting guests that are going to be on there, pre-recorded interviews. So look out for that next week. Obviously, there's going to be no games, so we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. And there might be charts, there might be maps. It's not going to really work for audio, but we'll have fun doing it in the studio. And I'm sure you'll have fun listening to us roll out the maps and everything, figure out where everybody's going.
Whitecap Scarf's already asking if it's an all-night show.
Oh, that one? Maybe. Maybe we'll do a marathon because it's 200. But before we sign off, where can we find you guys?
At Gideon Hill 18 on the Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter at Zachary AM, and I'm part of the Movement Curve Collective.
I'm Steve Pender, and you can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat. You can also find Michael when he's back from Oregon on Twitter at AFTN Canada, and you can find all our articles on aftn.ca. So, another week down, another break coming up. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they do come back from break, because in the past they have not come back from break. And
I was hoping you were going to mention that.
The World Cup break, the Montreal game. So thanks for everybody for listening. So in the meantime and in between time, thank you for listening, and Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.